Yo, what to do, everybody? I'm Arctic. Hope you're having a good day. They just revealed the 5th edition of the Muerto times, showing upcoming major changes to the game, and this next update is their biggest one yet. So before we get into all these new upcoming changes, I just want to let you guys know that tomorrow, November 9th at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Texas Chainsaw Massacre the game will be going live on Twitch, answering a whole bunch of you guys' questions. So if you're interested in that, make sure to tune in. But also, if they reveal anything important or anything cool, I'll be sure to report to you guys on this channel. So be sure to subscribe and ring that bell icon to be notified about everything Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Now let's take a look at all the new changes for their next huge update. So here it is, the 5th edition, over 250 fixes in testing. So the first one, Grandpa cutscene missing. Grandpa Awakened cutscene has been replaced with a simple banner notification. This is a huge one. They're listening. They're finally fixing this. The Grandpa cutscene will no longer be a thing. So this is a really big thing for Leatherface's mains out there, because as you know, Grandpa cutscenes overheats Leatherface's chainsaw, and now that will no longer be a thing. Leatherface doesn't have to be scared of his own grandpa now. Next one is Grandpa Perks Up. Grandpa Perks unequipping match to match is a fix in testing. So if you don't know what this means, usually between each match, you have to go back into your loadout and re-equip your Grandpa perk, because it'll just automatically disappear after one game. So that's getting fixed. The next one is local fuse box saboteur in town. Saboteur perk now accurately affects the fuse box as well as the generator. So if you don't know what the Saboteur perk does, it's supposed to, after using a generator or a fuse box, the interaction cooldown for the family members is 10 seconds longer. And this perk just didn't work at all, especially once that family update came out where they're able to turn off the fuse box. I think this perk was just completely dead, didn't work at all. So now they're fixing it, and I'm assuming it'll work something like this. Once a victim turns on the fuse box, the family members will have to wait that 30-second cooldown, and if you have the Saboteur perk on, and plus the 10 extra seconds before they're able to turn it off. So they'll have to wait 40 seconds now. I mean, that's how I think it'll work. But moving on, we got Family Exploits Valve. Ability used to instantly exploit the valve closing mechanics is being addressed. So I'm glad this exploit is getting fixed. If you didn't know, there was this valve tech that the family members can do by like spamming their ability button and the button to turn off the valve at the same time, and it'll instantly shut off the valve tank. So that's no longer a thing now. The next one up is Johnny Trail Goes Cold. Fixed in testing for a bug that made the footprints disappear for Johnny almost instantly. Now I'm glad this is getting fixed, because sometimes when Johnny investigates a footprint, you will get no footprint trails, and that'll happen for Johnny like about 50% of the time. And what people thought it was is that the victim was no longer in that area, so that's why you didn't get the footprints. But no, it was just a bug. You were supposed to get footprints all along, and I'm glad this is getting fixed for them Johnny mains out there. Alright, next one, 5 out of 7 victims agree. If a full lobby has 5 out of the 7 victims ready, the match timer drops to 30 seconds. Now I think this is a good thing. If you're just waiting for 2 more people to ready up in the lobby, well, now you just have to wait 30 seconds instead of like 2 minutes. Next up, the Trail of Blood. The blood trails left behind by victims will now match the console versions on PC as well. So on consoles like PS5 and Xbox Series X, the blood trails that victims left was like bright, solid, dense red, and you were able to track down victims. However, on the PC versions, there was technically no blood trails for the victims, so it's harder for the family members to track down the victims. But now they're matching the console version to the PC versions, so now it's the same for both. Next up, Security Pin Lockdown. Security Pin's perk now only affects the cook's locks. To be honest, I didn't know this was a thing. I always thought it was only for the cook's locks to begin with, but I guess it was for every gate and door, even if it didn't have the lock on it, which is kind of interesting. But they're fixing that, so that's good. Next up, building up pressure. Turning off the valve will now repressurize the tank. Now this is a big one. So you know how the victim just spams the valve tank, and then they have to wait for the needle to reach the green, and if the family members turns off the valve in time, the needle will just stay in place, which just makes it easier for the victim to come back to the valve tank, spam it again, and then just go run off again. But now, once the family members turn off the valve, the needle will slowly go back, which I think is the way to go. I think that's a good fix, to be honest. However, it doesn't really specify here. Once the family member does turn off the valve tank, will the needle slowly go back, or will the needle just instantly drop back down to the red? In that case, if the needle drops back down instantly to the red, then I think that would be a bad fix. To me, there will be like no point for the victims to go for that valve anymore, unless it's just for a distraction, because it sounds like it'll be almost impossible to escape through the valve exit if the needle drops back down instantly to the red. So hopefully they're going with the way that the needle slowly moves back down to the red, and once the victim reactivates the valve, it'll just start from where that needle is at. So yeah, I can't wait to see what they do with that. But the next one is Slaughterhouse renovations. A particularly tricky valve tank will be relocated upstairs for better visibility. Wow, it sounds like they're moving the valve tank from the basement to upstairs somewhere on the Slaughterhouse map. Now that is also a big valve change. I'm just wondering where at they will be placing it upstairs now, and I'm kind of excited for this change because the valve tank down in the basement on the Slaughterhouse map was just kind of way too easy. As you saw from my demonstration a few seconds ago, no killer came down to turn off the valve tank. But the Slaughterhouse map is not the only thing that's being worked on. We also have Smokehouse closed for business. The Smokehouse door on the gas station map is being reworked. I don't think they're gonna just completely cut it off and barricade that door so you're no longer able to go through that door anymore. Like they said, they are reworking the door. I don't know what they're gonna do. Maybe they might add one of those metal electric grids right at the bottom of the door. That way you have to turn off the generator to go through that door. So now if you turn off that generator, it'll turn off the gates and the door both at the same time, and then you can pick or choose which one you want to go through, I guess. Whatever they do, I'm just excited to check out the new changes. Next one is cook ability tuning. Crouch walking will now hide you from the cook's seek ability, and the duration of outlines due to detections have been fixed. Bro, I don't know where I have been the whole time, but this whole time I thought this was already a thing. I thought if you're crouch walking, you won't be detected by the cook, but I guess you were able to? So this is technically a nerf to the cook. You won't be able to spot victims who are crouch walking now. Next one is tie it off. Tourniquet perk is being fixed and will no longer completely remove bleed out effects. So what tourniquet does is after consuming a health item, you don't bleed out for like 10 seconds. But how it is right now is if you have this perk on and if you use a healing item, you just won't bleed out at all. So they're fixing that. Next one is auto crouch toggle. Testing out a toggle for the auto crouch so players can choose to turn it off. So they're finally fixing this. You know how when you're just running randomly and then when you stop running you just automatically crouch and sometimes you don't want to? Well, they're fixing that now. If you want to crouch now, you have to click a button, and of course you can turn this feature on or off. Next one is no cell versus chainsaw. No cell will now more accurately affect overhead chainsaw attacks from Leatherface. Didn't know this was a thing, but I guess no cell will now work with Leatherface's overhead chainsaw attack. I thought it was working fine, but I guess not. And the last thing on this list says and more, so we will have to wait probably just like 2 days for the full patch notes, and then I will go over that as well. But we do have a little bit more here under the investigation section, and they're investigating grappling, tuning, perk rebalancing, and party disbanding issues. Now I'm very curious of what they're meaning here for the grappling tuning. Maybe they might be cutting down on the animations, because if you're a victim and if you get into a grapple with a family member, even if you win that battle, you have to wait like 10 more seconds until you're able to start moving again. They might even be talking about the grappler perk here. You know how you can win instantly fast with the grappler perk? They might nerf that perk or something like that. And they're fixing all those party disbanding issues that people don't like. So that's everything on this new 5th edition. What do you guys think about this next huge update? I think it's pretty huge myself. There's a whole bunch of changes. The grandpa change, the valve change on the Slaughterhouse map, the gas station door. Big changes, man. Stay tuned to the channel for all these new updates and subscribe, ring that bell icon to be notified every time we upload a brand new video. Have a good one, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.